Okay, so anybody who wasn't here last time, hopefully you watched the welcome video, you saw what you missed. Hopefully you're getting up to date. I know some of us are having some difficulties as far as the book, the Wiley Plus. So I'm going to go over that first before I start to go into lecture stuff. But before I do that, I'm going to download the lecture that I posted for you guys, and I'm going to do that showing it to you guys so that you know how to get to materials. So I'm on the modules page, right? That's where everything is. And if you scroll down to module 1, which is the first one we're working on, you'll see a page that I added yesterday or the day before, I don't know. I added it, right? It has all of the objectives, all the study guides for this module that you need to know for test 1. And so far it just has one of the PowerPoints. And so when you click on this, you can either click here and you can view it right in Canvas, or you can click here and it will link out. And you can open it or save it. I usually just open it and then save it on my computer so that it's not in my download folder. Just makes it easier because usually stuff that I open I'm going to save. So then I'm just going to do save as, and I'm going to put it in my folder for this class, which was empty. I usually do that before class, but I'm kind of glad I didn't this time, right? Because you guys can see how it's done. So let's go to the book stuff. So again, under modules, and we didn't do this last time. Does anybody who's had a Wiley account that remembers their password that hasn't done this yet in this class? Nobody. It's taken A and P. Okay. Anybody who hasn't done this yet at all? Okay. Someone want to volunteer to come up and do this for the class so we can all see how you go through the steps?
I will.
Vanessa will. All right, Vanessa. Okay. All right, so I'm going to actually log out of my account, and you'll need to log into your Canvas account. So I'm going to step this way, you go that way. I wanted to do this last time, but we ran out of time. There you go. Nope, just exit. I don't want to remember you. All right, so you would go to our class. So you do this. All right, class. Yep. Yep, we want it easier. You don't have to do the, I'm not going to do the compatibility, I've already done it. I know my computer's compatible, right? But if you need to do the compatibility test, that's what that link is, as it says. We're going to click the second link, yep, which says Read, Study, Practice. All right, click the next button. And then we're going to accept, of course. And you'll see that you have 3 options. You can register for, you can put in your code that came in with your book, right? So then you click the plus if you bought the book at the bookstore, right? And see, it even has you step by step and explains it for you. Okay? You can purchase it, and this will have the ebook, right? And it's only $55. So if you're happy with that and just the ebook, then you can rock it out for $55. In the meantime, if you're having difficulty deciding on which cost option would be best for you, because we went over how much it is at the bookstore, right? It's like $150 something, okay? But that comes with the code, right? And so you will also have the ebook. Right now, right, you can get to this stuff for free, and it will save everything you've done during this free period for 14 days. So when you either pay the $55 online with your credit card, or you buy the book at the bookstore, all your stuff is saved. Still with me? Okay. So we're going to do free. Because once the free's up, then you have to pay. So we're going to click on free, begin grace period. And then you'll go right into Wiley Plus. Wasn't that easy?
Cool, thank you.
So we'll back out in a minute, but I want to show you guys some things. So I'm going to still use her account, but I will log out, but she can sit. And thank you.
Great.
Okay, so this is the book, y'all, right? Chapter 1, right? The opener to the book, you just click on it. And there it is. Literally, there's the book. Everything for the book. All of the chapters, right? You can hop to any section within the chapter, and you can even see different study objectives. No. You have to have access to the book in order to be successful probably in this course. You never ever will I ask you to bring the book to class. So if you're going the ebook route, you don't have to hoof your laptop to class. This is for you for reading outside of class and reference outside of class. We won't ever, and if I do reference the book, I'll probably pull it up. Like I can do just like you guys do. I'm just staying in her account so you guys can see and she can see what it's like when she comes back in once she's registered. So I'm going to close out of that. And you'll see modules, right? That's not me. Because mine's on silent, even though I'm going to answer it. Okay. I'm not mean like Miss R. I don't give pop quizzes, but I'll embarrass you if your phone goes off. Okay, so then we just hit read, study, practice, right? Hit the link to the external, and bam, you're in again. And it's like that no matter what computer you're on. Cool? All right. So let's get to the fun stuff. So let me remember to log out of Vanessa's account, though. And I don't really need mine anymore. Although I did mention, and I did see briefly when I looked this morning, I just want it as a quick reminder to you guys, right? Our first assignment that we're working on is the introduction discussion board, right? So I see 14 people have done it. That means a whole lot of you guys still need to work on it. So you can get to it quickly right under discussions, right? And it's the first one. And it is due Monday. Right?
Do we need to cut and paste anything for the student handbook questions? Is that just for us?
No, that was just for you guys, but thank you for asking because that was homework, wasn't it? Right? So what are the answers, right, to the syllabus important dates? So one of them was, when can you drop classes till? Add and drop classes. Anyone find out? You asked, you should know.
I wasn't sure where the basements, I didn't do it yet.
Did they change it? All right. So it's usually technically the first 2 days, but I don't know if you guys got an email, but they're extending registration until Friday. Again, I'm recording, which is probably good. It keeps me from opening my big fat mouth. Yeah. So, current students, student handbook, fall semester, important dates. So the first date was, when can you add and drop classes until? So classes start. So the 16th, right? Like I said, it's usually the first 2 days. But notice I said usually. I think they may have extended this. But, you know, if there's some class that you've gone to this week and you're like, oh, man, they're like crazy, I'm not taking this class. You've got to take care of it today if they'll let you, right? If you need to switch things out, right? Do it as soon as possible. Okay. And then the next date, I don't think I put, but is an important date, is the 29th, and I talked to you guys about this, right? How this semester they're really cracking down on us, at least in my department. If you don't show up to class, if I didn't check you off on my roll, you didn't sign my little book, right? Then you'll get dropped out of this class. If you're here listening to me right now and you called out, you said here when I did the roll, you're safe, right? All I have to have is one attendance for you, and I'm not going to drop you. And you guys will know who I'm going to end up dropping because I will scream their names next week, right? Because I will have nothing in the book for them. Okay. But as far as your other classes, right? If you don't want to get dropped, go to class. So the other really important date that falls in the line of drops as well is the final day to withdraw with a W. And that is November 2nd, right, for regular session. So again, if things aren't going so well, right, something happens, it's your responsibility. Professors at this point still cannot drop students at all, right? We can't drop you. You got to do it. Does that make sense? In the past, we could. They took it away. But FN went away and it came back. So guess what? We're fighting to get that back too. Right? Because if you don't drop, guess what we have to give you if you stop coming, you stop doing assignments? An F. Nobody likes an F. Right? And then now we're going to give you an FN, which hurts you financially. So you don't want to do that. The other thing is, what is the last day of classes? Right? The last day of classes is actually in November. It is November 28th, right after Thanksgiving holiday, which we only have 2 holidays. Well, 3. We've got Labor Day that's coming up that I screwed up at first and tried to give us a test that day. September 5th. I'll never forget that date now. And then we have October. We have, if you have Saturday classes, you have, I think it's the 8th off, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. I love my mother because she gave birth to me in October around Columbus Day back home. So I always get my birthday off. It's the 11th. So I love fall holiday. And then we have Thanksgiving. That's it, right? And we get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And then right after, so this is the other question, right? So notice that the last day of class is a Monday. Students are always like, do we have class on Wednesday? No. Finals start Tuesday. The next time I'm going to see you is the last time I'm going to see you, and that's for the final exam. Right? You guys tend to forget this, right? When classes end, they end. Then we go into finals, and that's it. It's over with. Right? So we will be done, right? So, December 6th. It's insane. It's like so early. Right? And if you're going to commencement, anyone going to graduation? Not this semester? Okay. I'm there all the time. I hope to see you there someday. Okay. So those are the important dates. And that's where you find them. Any other questions, problems, concerns before we start the lecture? Okay. And again, Yeah, I'm never going to print anything for you in this class, but I'm always going to post stuff for you guys. Right now, I want to make some changes to the future PowerPoints. That's why they're not already posted. But I am going to try to at least post it, you know, like Monday for Wednesday, Wednesday for Friday, you know, Friday for Monday kind of thing. So I'm going to try and get on the ball. If I don't, I'll still post the old one. But then I'm going to make changes. But so you at least have a guideline to work from. And mostly what's going to change in these is really just the pictures. That's it. So, and I'll probably give you some tips as regards to like where this stuff is found in the sections within the chapter. So I just gave you the chapters, right? But I didn't really kind of focus you. And I'll focus you a little bit better for the next couple of chapters. But chapter 1, you really should read through the whole thing, although we won't cover the whole thing. But there's a lot of good introductory stuff there that, especially if you haven't taken biology in a while, it's going to help you out, right? I mean, it's chapter 1, right? It's the introduction. So it helps focus you for the course, right? So we always, I mean, I don't know any class that doesn't cover chapter 1. I don't know anybody who doesn't read chapter 1. So this won't help out Vanessa, right? But I have dyslexia, right? So sometimes, you know, like when I read things, you know, it's that extra processing, trying to figure out what the heck is on that page. So sometimes hearing it helps me. So I'm going to teach you guys a little trick that I used a lot in grad school as it relates to the book, especially since all of you guys are going to have the ebook. Because this morning I was like, man, I wish I would have prepped this ahead of time because I was pouring plates in the lab for my lab class this morning, and I could have been listening again to it, but I didn't prep it. So this is a little trick that I learned because we had a lot of boring scientific papers I had to read in grad school. So sometimes I would be doing my stuff in lab and listening to the paper. Oh no, I might have to institute pop quizzes. This is a second phone. Okay, so when you go to your book, and I usually open up a Word document to start. And this is the other thing you could do, so that way you can read when you're not online sometimes. I don't know where my Word is. So I open up a Word document. I'm just going to go to the first section. And I'm just going to copy the words, obviously not the pictures. And then I'm going to save this file as a PDF. And there's a reason why I'm doing that. So then the PDF reader comes up, and our lovely interpreter taught me, look at y'all, you just have to push that darn button right there. There is a feature in View that's called Read Aloud, or Read Mode. I think you have to highlight. It might not work right now because I have my microphone plugged in. Oh, there it is, Read Aloud. I hit the wrong thing. You probably won't hear it. But it'll read it to you. Adobe Acrobat Reader has literally a reader in it. Now it's that computer funky voice, right? But you know, when in a pinch, it can help. All right, so let's actually go to our lecture. So our first topic is microbiology, of course. This is microbiology class. Microorganisms are the most abundant organisms on this planet. And you can find them everywhere, right? So as we found out in lab, they're in the air we breathe. They're on our skin. They're in our bodies. They're on the tabletops that you're sitting at right now, which, by the way, they clean once a semester with disinfectant. Once. So those of you guys that like to eat in here, take that into consideration. The tabletops in McDonald's are actually probably cleaner, believe it or not, than this classroom. So I had students that are real germaphobes. They come in with like the wipes, wipe down their desktop every day. Not really necessary, right? Unless, of course, you decide you're going to eat lunch in here, right? You might actually want to do that. Or you just don't eat anything that falls on the desk. So they're absolutely everywhere. But life on this earth would not exist without them. right? They're a major contributor to recycling elements. So the nitrogen that's part of our bodies was once nitrogen gas in the atmosphere. That was converted into an organic form of nitrogen by guess who? Who did that? Who does that? Microorganisms in the soil, right? They convert it into usable forms. And what group of organisms uses it before we do? Plants. And then we eat plants, right? Eventually, we become part of the ecosystem again, although we kind of usually sequester ourselves. So usually other animals, right, that ate those plants. And some of them we also eat, right? 'Cause we're omnivores. We eat both plants and animals. Although some people are vegetarians or vegans and don't eat animals, right? But even if you eat animals, that animal or the animal before it, at some point somebody ate a plant, right? That's how those nutrients get cycled through. Now, most animals and plants, right, become part of the soil, right, are decomposed. Guess how they're decomposed? What breaks them down? Microorganisms, right? So that's how that nitrogen gets back in the atmosphere, right? That's the whole cycle for nitrogen and most of the elements that we deal with. Now, there's this really cool thing that you can buy an urn nowadays that you become a tree. That's what I want. I want to be a tree. Of course, I can't figure out what tree and where yet, but I'm hoping I have a lot of time to figure this out. So, okay. Some of them are a source of nutrients, like we said. Those microorganisms. Some of them we eat. How many people like yogurt? Beer? Wine? It's New Orleans, right? The answer is yes to all of those. The second two anyways, right? It's like, forget about water. Don't need that, right? They help make that clean too, though, right? Microorganisms are very important to providing nutrients, right, for the plants and for the animals. And photosynthesis, right? There are some microorganisms that photosynthesize. And in fact, the cyanobacteria in the algae in our oceans are the ones that actually overproduce due to photosynthesis the oxygen that we breathe. Plants do produce oxygen, but they use just as much as they produce, right? They do not produce excess oxygen. The cyanobacteria that are photosynthetic and the algae in our oceans are the ones that actually produce the oxygen that make life possible for us on this earth. They benefit society. We already talked about food and beverages, right? But this one usually kind of throws people off. They produce antibiotics. When does a doctor give you antibiotics? When you're sick, when you have an infection with what? Not a virus, a bacteria. There are some antivirals out there. I don't think any of them are antibiotics. Because the true definition of an antibiotic is something produced by a microorganism that either kills and inhibits another microorganism. So Alexander Fleming discovered one that was used quite prevalently, and we've actually chemically modified that substance numerous times. So there's a gazillion drugs out there that have the same ending to them. Anyone know what drugs I'm talking about? Penicillin, right? Penicillin was number one, right? And then you have other things. Can you think of another cillin you maybe have taken or given? Amoxicillin, that's the good pink liquid one we give our kids, right? The good news is it's dirt cheap. When you spill it, you can buy more even though your insurance won't cover it. It's only $3. Been there, done that. Amoxicillin. What else? What's another cillin? I know I'm drawing a blank too. But there are a lot, right? If it ends in cillin, it started out as penicillin and a chemist modified it. And because of that, those different ones work in different ways, right? And we're going to talk about that I'm going to talk about penicillin from now to the end of the course, right? It's my favorite drug, right? But it is, I mean, it was a huge, huge breakthrough, right, in molecular biology and health science in that right as well. So it's actually produced by, anybody know what type of organism? It's a fungus. Yep, it's a fungus. And if you're taking microbiology lab, you'll actually look at it under the microscope. It's beautiful. Looks like flowers. And its spores structures look like little brushes. And actually, penicillin means paintbrush in some language. I don't know which one. Probably Greek. So they're really pretty. Really, really pretty. But and they're found in some of the foods you might even eat. Penicillium is that particular mold. Anyone know what cheese? Some of your soft cheeses, like your blue cheeses and things like that, that stuff that the blue you see is actually the fungus. And people who are allergic to penicillin can eat it because the fungus only produces it when it needs to produce it, and that's under stressful conditions. Because remember, what does penicillin do? It inhibits, it actually will kill gram-positive bacteria. So when does a fungus need to produce something, a chemical, and this is actually chemical warfare, they've been doing it for eons, we just stole their technology. When do they need to fight? When does that fungus need to be like fighting that bacteria? What are they fighting over? What do we fight over? Food, and resources, right? Space. They don't have guns and crazy weapons, right? They've got chemicals. And that's what antibiotics truly are, right? They are the war between microorganisms themselves. Chemical war. And again, we've just taken it from them. So I went to Connecticut this summer for a week-long training for a program, which actually you'll probably even see the link on my desktop. It's called Small World Initiative. And my honors section of the microbiology lab, if any of you guys aren't taking lab this semester and are interested in that and have a GPA that you could get into the class, which I need to find out what that is. I think it's like a 3. You have to have a 3 GPA to get into an honors section. We're going to have a small honors section, and students, instead of doing the unknown project that students are doing this semester, where I give you a bacteria, I know what it is, you have to figure it out, we're going to actually do soil samples to try and discover new bacteria. And the hope is that we find even not necessarily new bacteria, but bacteria that are producing new antibiotics. So it's a worldwide initiative. At the training, there was a guy from Spain, a woman from India, and then, of course, numerous people from throughout the United States. And they moved to teaching this program also in high schools. So not just colleges are doing this. So I'm pretty excited about putting that together and getting to do real research, right? And students are going to ASM, the American Microbiology Society meetings and presenting their posters. And there's one girl who discovered a new bacteria. Well, we think it's a new bacteria. So far, all the testing that she's run, it's new, and it's pink. I thought it was like a Photoshop picture, because it was pink. But no, it's pink, right? And it may be new. So, pretty cool stuff. Because as you know, we're running out of antibiotics, right? Because do microorganisms stay the same? No, they're forever changing, right? Which is why, again, those communities are changing, so there's the hope if we study them, we'll find something new, right? We just need a whole lot of people studying it because there's a whole lot of stuff we got to screen and test before we're probably going to find something new. Somebody in Russia found a bacteria in the soil that produces a new antibiotic. That was the first one in like 15 years. Forgot what I wanted to say. That's okay. Vitamins. Most of the vitamins that you buy, GNC, the grocery store, wherever you get your multivitamins, most of those vitamins are produced by microbes, and they're purified and put in pill form. If you eat a well-balanced diet, you truly don't really need to take supplements, but that's not really easy to do. So even I take supplement vitamins to fill in the gaps. Your microbes that live in your gut, that you're giving a free ride to, you're giving them a place to live and food to eat, they produce a lot of the vitamins that are necessary. Folic acid, right? One that women usually take more of when they're pregnant, right? Because they've showed that it's important for fetal development. Is we all cannot produce this. Where we get it is from the microbes in our gut or from the foods that we eat in our diet. Right? And again, some people don't eat well enough, so they supplement in pill form. Also, if you're ever pregnant, go to the dentist, because your children will leach minerals from your teeth. And so I've got a whole lot of crowns because I didn't do that. And I wasn't taking enough supplement vitamins to account for how much he was taking from me. And so I love my son, but you know, he owes me some teeth. So they're pretty awesome microorganisms, right? I definitely think so. You still managed to keep yours though? Well, you went to the dentist. So you probably drink milk too, and I don't like milk. Yeah, see, I can't do that. I used to eat more dairy, but my dentist actually said that I should stay away from it because it's inflammatory, and I have jaw issues. So I've actually limited. I love cheese. Okay, so that's the really good stuff, and that's just, again, scraping the surface of the good stuff. What do we tend to focus on when I say microorganisms, though? What do you think about? You think about viruses, you think about bacteria, and do you have a good feeling about them when someone says a virus or bacteria? No, we're all like, oh, virus, bacteria, right? It's going to make me what? Sick, die, right? You know, it's going to cause illness, right? So in the old book, they had a whole table, and I'll apologize because I think I didn't update my objective sheet. It tells you to look in chapter like 33 or something. You're not going to find it, right? So it's just in my PowerPoint now. I'm not going to actually get rid of this because I think it's important to talk about diseases, although that's not the focus of this class, right? But it's always definitely the first thing we think about. And it is relatable to what we're going to talk about in this class. And then again, we've already surveyed most of you guys are allied health majors, right? So this is going to be your focus. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail of organisms themselves and the processes than you would say in the human pathogens class, where they really just go through diseases the second half of the course. For us, we're going to do case studies, right? And we're going to talk a little bit right now, because I find if you can relate material to your own life, right, or your future life that you're hoping for, then it's going to stick with you, right? And so if I can talk about specific diseases as we go throughout the course and relate them to the content, then hopefully you will hold on to that information. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So this is our first objective. Be able to associate selected pathogenic microorganisms with specific infectious disease. So the selected ones I've already selected. It's the list in this table that's coming up, right? So you already, you know the list. What type of questions am I going to ask you? Remember, we're going to go to the computer lab for testing. What's the format of the questions I'm going to be asking you? Anyone know? It's on the computer. I could actually ask you short answer, but am I going to? No, we're going to stick the writing to the discussion boards, right? And then we'll fulfill our, writing across the curriculum that way. Not on testing days where you guys are freaking out and can't write in standard English to save your life. And I have to grade that. So instead, what are the tests going to be? Multiple choice, matching, true and false. So if this says associate, what does that mean to you? What type of question do you think you're going to see? Probably a matching. Yes, it's a matching question. So you'll have the disease, and you've got to match it with the description. Of course, it's not going to be all of them. Even out of this selected list, I will select. But you need to know all of them because you don't know which ones I'm going to pick. So some of them, when you look at etiological agent, so what does that mean? Etiological. Who's ever even heard that term before, right? What does it say under it? Bacillus anthracis. What is that? Bacillus is shape, you're right. It's also a name, isn't it? It's a genus and species name of an organism. Etiological agent is what causes the disease, whether it be a bacteria, a virus, a protozoa. There's no algae on this list. There are actually no algae that cause disease in us. There is a few algae that actually produce toxins that'll make you sick if you ingest them. There aren't any algae that will grow in your body or on your body that we know of that's pathogenic at this point. So your choices are pretty much bacteria, right, which we're used to dealing with. Viruses, which if you scan down that list, you see some, it says virus in the name, right? So you know it's caused by a virus. And then there's actually one on the next page that's actually not a bacteria or a virus. It's a protozoa. And that's a single-celled eukaryotic organism that can cause infection. We would look at it in lab, but my slides suck. And it'll make sense in a moment why they are not very good slides. Part of the reason why they're not good slides. So Bacillus anthracis. Sounds like a disease you've heard of, right? Anthrax. Kind of terrifying disease too, right? Because it can kill people. What was it, 1991? Seems like forever now. How was anthrax spread then? You remember what everyone was terrified about getting? Envelopes in the mail. Some crazy person put spores, endospores of this organism in the mail. Yes, so deliver it to someone else. And the thing is, the spores are microscopic, and they put millions upon billions of them in these envelopes. So when they open them, it's like a fine powder and aerosolized, and they inhaled it. This was intentional. This was what we refer to as bioterrorist. And the scary thing in the United States is, do we vaccinate against this? We do not vaccinate the general public against anthrax. Military personnel, people traveling to certain countries will get vaccinated against it. For the most part in the United States, we've done an exceptional job of cleaning up anthrax from our environment, where you're not going to be exposed to it under normal conditions in the United States. Travel abroad is another story, right? And so that's why we obviously protect our military personnel to travel abroad, or anybody else that needs to go into particular areas. Thank you. You're like, I'm going to have to pay you commission or something. So these particular bacteria can form these highly resistant forms called endospores. They go into a dormancy period. So they weren't actively growing or anything like that. And again, they sent so many of them that the exposure was, off the chart. And the people inhaled them. Several animals and stuff can carry this, but as I said, for the most part in the United States, we've done a really good job of cleaning this up. So under normal conditions, you're probably not going to be exposed to this. But the fear is that someone could use it against us, right? Because you could put it, they don't have to be growing, right? They're dormant. You can't boil this and kill it when it's in its endospore form. You can't kill it with UV radiation. You have to use like gamma radiation. Most chemicals won't penetrate and destroy the spore coat. Right? Unless it's huge numbers, again, you're not going to see it again. It looked like a very fine powder for them if they noticed it at all. Right? So it's quite scary. And that's one of the main reasons that I keep it on the list. So start reading in your book, right? You should now know how to do the free access, right? So I expect you guys to definitely start reading. As I said, try to read most of the chapter, but if you want to hit the main points that you really need to focus on. And we're going to continue. I'm not going to make any changes to this lecture. And like I said, I'll try and post the next one. But we'll continue on this one in your book. And I'll post this for you guys too, because I think I closed out the book. Obviously the first section, but then if you guys don't have time, before next time, jump to the last section, right, in the chapter that covers diseases, okay? Or the, discovery of. All right, see you guys on Wednesday.